Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where we say, we knew this was gonna happen, right? I mean, we were pretty darn sure this was gonna happen, right? I think the last video I did talking about kill switches and tracking NVIDIA AI hardware, I caveated pretty damn hard in that video to basically say this video was going to be coming soon. Because as everybody now knows, I am actually Eli, the computer guy from 2030. Right? I've decided that's going to make all of this so much easier. Right? If I try to simply say I'm a technology professional that's been in this field since 1996 and none of these stories are new, then all the kids out there are going to be like, Boomer doesn't understand the modern world. On the other hand, right, so many of these Gen Zers and these kids have been brought up on the History Channel, where all the videos are about Oak Island and ancient aliens. They'll probably believe me if I say, actually, I'm from 2030. I've come back in time to narrate to you the future that you're about to go into. Right, I think maybe that's the way we're gonna go. Eli, the computer guy from 2030. Anyways, yeah, this is real because we knew it was real. I knew it was real. I knew this was real before. Literally, I did the video like 4 days ago. 4 days ago, I did the video, and I knew this video was coming. Anyways, coming from Tom's Hardware and a lot of other places. Surprise, surprise. Only if you are a damn moron are you surprised. NVIDIA, quote, we don't install secret tracking devices in our products. GPU giant responds after Washington accused of secretly tracking AI server shipments at risk of diversion to China. Because that's right, I want you to understand. Jensen Huang has categorically stated they do not embed kill switches or tracking mechanisms within the GPU. But when I say GPU, I talk about the thing of the name. I've talked about this concept of the thing of the name for years. Basically, it comes from Socratic argument. What are we actually talking about here? But anyways, when I say GPU, what do you think? What comes to mind when I say GPU? All a GPU is a graphics processing unit. Basically, all it is a chip. That chip is then soldered onto a graphics card, right? So NVIDIA sells the GPUs. They get sold to ASUS and Gigabyte. I don't know. I'm not a big graphics card person. Whoever the hell fuck buys GPUs? Anyways, they buy the GPUs, they solder them onto the graphics cards, and then the graphics cards are sold by those companies or into other kind of AI hardware or whatever else. So here's the thing, right? There can be absolutely no tracking hardware or kill switches directly implemented into the GPU itself. But you know, there's a lot of space on a card. There's a lot of space on a card, and only a little bit of that space is actually taken up by the GPU. Somebody could solder some additional crap onto there, and you get the same results. I talk about this with the NSA, right? I want you to understand from a very fundamental level, right? The damage our intelligence agencies are doing to the credibility of the United States. I want you to grasp the damage that our intelligence agencies that do not fundamentally believe in the Constitution are doing to the entire United States, because intelligence operations are not law enforcement operations. Ergo, how the Constitution relates to them is a bit of a question mark. And what we find with all types of people is people will push things to the absolute absurd limit, right? So we saw this before with the NSA and Cisco equipment. Right? It was being manufactured by Cisco. It was being boxed up by Cisco. It was being shipped out by Cisco. The NSA was getting the equipment en route opening not just the packaging for the equipment, but the actual hardware itself, soldering in additional components to that hardware, sealing everything up nice and pretty, being the smart intelligence operators that they are, because they're so fucking smart. They're so fucking smart. They don't even have to pretend to give a shit about the reputational damage they're doing to the entire fucking United States. Because don't you understand? They're fucking patriots. Right? If they destroy entire sectors of our economy, you can't blame them because they're flag-waving patriots. They don't care if they have to use the Constitution to wipe their ass, right? Because they are patriots. But anyways, right, they sealed up all the equipment and they sent it on its way. And then it was found out that the NSA was compromising brand new Cisco hardware. Right? And what we seem to be seeing now is, again, the flag-waving patriots that wipe their ass with the Constitution. Right? Because the fundamental understanding in the United States is, we hold these truths to be self-evident. They ain't people. Right? It's funny. It's funny how the people that run our government and the operatives of our government are so focused on trying to find who the Constitution is not supposed to defend. Who can they put their knee into to squeeze the life out of? Because that's the most important thing with these folks. But anyways, right? So you have Jensen Huang come out, and he can say, our GPUs, our graphic processing unit, which is silicon, our silicon is not compromised. If all the hardware that goes around that silicon is compromised, well, Jensen Huang isn't lying now, is he? Right? Anyways, NVIDIA wants no part in the story. Yep, NVIDIA wants no part in the story. Hey, NVIDIA. Hey, Jensen Huang. The next time you have a conversation with Trump, right? The dictator of the United States, the Tsar of the United States, you might want to have a question. You might want to have a conversation with him about the basic concepts of the Constitution. And do remember, under this administration, why this stuff becomes very concerning. Trump, fuck me, he literally said it. He does not know if it's part of his responsibility to uphold the Constitution. The President of the United States literally stated he does not know if it's his responsibility to uphold the Constitution. NVIDIA has issued a flat denial of the existence of tracking chips in its hardware, following reports that the federal government allegedly placed tracking devices in shipments of AI server tech thought to be at risk of diversion to China. The China man is gonna get it. We have to do whatever it takes. If I have to wipe my ass with the Constitution just to make sure we keep the China man down, I will do it as a patriot. Anonymous sources claim U.S. authorities are planting tracking chips in NVIDIA hardware as part of their investigation into the alleged smuggling of banned AI chips into China. Reuters reported earlier this week in a statement to Tom's Hardware, an NVIDIA spokesperson simply stated, "We don't install secret tracking devices in our products." They don't put it in their products. They don't put it in their products. So if the component they sell to somebody else is installed into somebody else's product, right, then they're not lying. And if their product gets shipped out of the door, but is intercepted en route for a couple of additional things to be soldered on, they're also not lying. They are not installing it into their products. What is the security of the supply chain? Who knows? While the story in question lays a tracking at the feet of Washington rather than any companies whose products are involved, NVIDIA's staunch denial reflects a desire to distance itself from reports as it prepares to resume selling H20 chips in China. According to the report, the alleged tracking doesn't impact all shipments, but only targeted shipments believed to be at higher risk of being diverted to China. Although placing a tracker on a package typically requires a court order, Reuters notes that the export enforcement agents may sometimes do so with administrative approval only. So they're not even bothering to get a court order. They're just getting a sign off from, somebody who, whatever. It's unclear when this alleged practice started for semiconductors, but those involved within the AI chip supply chain seem aware of these actions. These trackers are reportedly often added to the shipping containers, the packaging of individual servers, or even within the server racks themselves. So think about this for a second, right? Actually adding this to a server rack. Now, depending on how you're getting your equipment and how it's being installed and all that kind of stuff, you might be getting servers in the individual boxes. Hey, old good old days of racking servers. Hey boss, how many servers we get in? I got 200 servers in. Means I'm racking 200 servers today, am I? Right, so that's the thing. Like when you're installing your infrastructure, how it is how it is. Sometimes you have the racks. The racks are set up. They're basically like hardware. Racks are essentially shelves or servers, I guess you could say. Anyway, so you have the racks. Then you unbox the individual servers. They're in U sizes. 1U is 1 unit. 2U, 3U, 4U. Actually, you unrack them. You slot them in. The whole 9 yards. So it could be on the servers, individual servers themselves. One of the interesting things, though, sometimes is when you're spending a lot of money, and that's the nefarious thing here, when you're spending a shit ton of money on hardware, what was it? VMware back in the day? They had like V-blocks. I'm sure people are doing the same thing nowadays. One of the curious things is a lot of these companies, when you're buying infrastructure, right? So you'll have your SAM. So whenever you're deploying infrastructure, right? Everything you deploy is supposed to solve a problem, right? You're not really deploying servers. You're not really deploying storage. You're not really deploying networks or switches and routers. What you're really supposed to be doing is deploying a solution, right? This is our disaster recovery solution. This is our VoIP solution. This is our streaming server solution, right? And so with that, what's going to happen is basically you're going to have servers that are doing tasks of some sort. They're most likely going to have a management server that's managing the other servers doing tasks. You're going to have most likely a storage array. That storage array is going to store data. Then on top of that, you're going to have your networking equipment. And so a lot of times nowadays, companies will just sell you the damn rack, right? So instead of selling you the SAN and a couple of servers and a switch, and you go out and find them on Newegg or whatever else, you just buy this rack for $100,000 and they ship you the rack. Can you imagine spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a rack and the fucker has tracking devices built into it? How happy would you be as a CIO, CTO? How happy would you be as a fucking CIO to find out when you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get racks, fully equipped racks delivered to you, that this shit has American tracking garbage in it? Do you think that's gonna make you a fucking happy CIO? Do you think that's gonna make you wanna wave the goddamn American flag and say, yay! Truth, justice, and the bullshit crap that the American administrations pull? Or are you gonna be sitting there saying, what does Huawei have to offer? Yeah, Uyghurs. Yeah, I've heard of that Uyghur thing. But anyways. So this is apparently what is currently going on is they're adding these tracking devices to the shipments and possibly to the hardware itself. This is being added by quote-unquote Washington, so intelligence agencies or whatever else, basically with the whole idea that they want to make sure that China is put in its place. The problem with all of these policies that you get into, right? One of the fundamental concepts of the United States is that we're supposed to be a free country, right? You are supposed to have your freedom unless your freedom compromises essentially somebody else's freedom, right? And that's where you have to weigh things out. Because the problem is anytime the government gets into anything, it is most likely going to be a disaster. As I've said before, the government will come in and they will give you brain surgery, right? If you have brain cancer and you have nobody else to go to, you can go to the government for brain surgery. The issue is they're going to try to get out that tumor with a baseball bat. They will find the sharpest baseball bat in their inventory. But at the end of the day, Trump is going to try to beat the fucking tumor out of your skull with a baseball bat. And this is why we have to pull back on the authority and we have to pull back on the power of our government, because it's a bowl in a china shop, basically, type of deal. And they don't care. They don't care. These fuckers think they're patriots. These fuckers go home and during the 4th of July, they launch the largest fireworks to prove what Americans they are. And they're not realizing this destroys our reputation globally. It is not simply that you cannot trust the American government. You cannot trust a goddamn thing coming out of the United States. And if you can't trust whatever comes out of the United States, then why the fuck are you gonna keep buying it? But anyways. It's a good shirt for today. It's a good shirt for today. So what do you think about this? What do you think about the American government adding tracking devices to NVIDIA AI hardware? What do you think about NVIDIA going, it's not us? And to be clear, it's technically true. It is technically true. Jensen Huang is not technically lying, but at the end of the day, the practical outcome, who the fuck cares? What do you think? What do you think about our intelligence agencies wiping their asses with the Constitution and thinking they're the fucking patriots, they're goddamn Rambos defending this country from the dangers of those outside worlds, China people? What do you think about this? Where do you think we going in the future? You know, I talk about this. I think it's interesting because I get a lot of viewers. I get a lot of pushback from people right now. Why are you so angry? Because I can't make this shit up. Anyways, I get a lot of pushback. But this is something you have to be thinking about, right? If you are a technology professional right now, and you have to decide on stacks, right? When you're deciding on these stacks, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars that are immediately going to become your legacy equipment, right? You install this crap into your systems, shit's never going away. And so if you are a non-American company, if you're a non-American CIO, CTO, you really have to think about your risk mitigation strategies. And when you see all of this going on, there has to be a reasonable question of, are you willing to take this level of risk? So anyways, what do you think? Put your thoughts down below. Give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down. Say I'm amazing, say I'm an idiot. All that matters is you put it down there in the comment stream, because this is the modern world of social media and they want that interaction. With that, that's all I gotta say. See y'all later.